Hello there, people of the internet. Those who have been watching my content for any real length of time knows that I am against customizing and sporterizing military surplus firearms to an extent. I have had a couple of people that have gotten off of the military surplus bandwagon only because they are looking for rifles that they can customize. I recommend, if you're looking for something that you can customize, get yourself something that's modern. They're better options, especially in terms of customization. These are becoming more and more, what's the word I'm looking for? Collectible. They're becoming more and more collectible as time goes on, and tearing them up, customizing them, turning them into something that they are not is not something that is viewed popularly in the gun community. This right here is an unrefurbished, unbubbled, uncustomized Mosin Nagant 9130. Like I said, this is unrefurbished. This is a 1943 production, so this rifle itself, this is a non-refurbished rifle. No work was done to it at any point in time. This rifle itself was in the hands of a Russian while he was fighting off the Germans. I don't know what it is that this rifle has seen, if only these rifles could talk, but it was 1943 and there's a lot going on over there in 1943. But to tear up something like this and sporterize it and bubba it and completely diminish the legacy that the rifle presents, it is not something that a lot of people find is in the best interest of anybody, with lack of a better term there. Now that I've said that part, there is more to this. A lot of people are thrown off of military surplus rifles because they can't customize it or make it more enjoyable for them to shoot. There is a level of customization to a military surplus rifle that the world isn't going to frown upon. For example, the world would probably frown upon this. This is my Type 53. This was sporterized whenever I'd gotten it. I'm sure it was sporterized a good number of years ago. But since it's been sporterized, I've got no problems customizing it. I got a rubber butt pad on the back. I plan on taking off this sight and mounting on like a scout style scope, only because I'm going to be taking this hunting and I want to be able to see out to as far if possible a distance as I can. And with my eyesight, iron sights are not the best option for that particular scenario. I very crudely just mounted on a sling. I find it ironic that I'm using an AK-47 sling on a Mosin Nagant. That's just one of those pits of irony. Obviously, the stock has been cut down. Originally, the Type 53 would look a lot like the M44 Mosin Nagant, which I also have. I've done plenty of videos on that, but this right here, like I said, I already bought sporterized, so I've got no problems customizing this gun. This gun actually used to be white and gold. You guys have seen it on this channel a lot, but since I'm taking it out hunting, I went ahead and I just took some oil and I wiped off the gold paint and I repainted the stock to be black, and it's going to be a hunting rifle. And down the road, I might get the urge to customize it again. I mean, it's a sporterized Type 53, which is not a very sought-after Mosin Nagant anyway. I also did some work on the trigger. The trigger on this thing is pretty phenomenal. There's no live rounds in the chamber, but the trigger on this thing, the take-up is non-existent, and it's probably about a 2.5 pound trigger. It is absolutely immaculate. But doing something like this to a Mosin that is in its original military configuration is not something that I would recommend. However, there are things that you can do that I doubt people would, foam at the mouth over. For example, rather than carve up an original military stock, maybe find yourself one that's already been sporterized. This way, if you ever feel the need to take your Mosin and put it back in its original stock, you can go ahead and do that. But if you're going to be taking it out, maybe you don't want to necessarily scratch up the stock or scar it up, or you don't want to carry that heavy wood, 20 miles out at wherever it is that you're going, or whatever it is that you're doing with the rifle. These stocks, well, this one right here was a cut up military stock, I could tell, because there used to be a cleaning rod under it. But these stocks, for the aftermarket stocks for Mosins, are very, very readily available, and they're basically the same way across the board for all of your military surplus rifles. I recommend getting a another stock that's already cut down and whatnot and just putting your Mosin inside of that. Like I said, I'll be sticking a scout scope on this thing, which requires no modification. You just kind of mount it on. You take your rear sight off and it just mounts right up. You still keep that rear sight and the spring that comes with it. You still keep that. That's not something that you just throw in the garbage. This way, if you ever feel like sticking it back in its original military configuration, you can just slap that back on. The rubber butt pad. All I did was take the metal plate off of this thing, put a rubber butt pad on it, and now I have a rubber butt pad. I still have that metal plate in case I ever feel like putting the metal plate back on. If this was an original configured Mosin, then I would be able to stick it back in its original military configuration, no problem whatsoever. The trigger. I don't think anybody's going to complain if you get rid of the horrendously garbage trigger that a Mosin has. All it takes is just a little bit of fine tuning and a little bit of polishing and a little bit of work and some spring tensioning, and it's really not that difficult to make your trigger a lot better in the Mosin Nagant series. I would not recommend drilling into your stock and mounting some sling swivels unless it is a sporterized stock or an aftermarket stock. If you customize your rifle to the point to where you can put it back into its original military configuration, then I don't think anybody's going to have any problems with that. Like, for example, for this one right here, don't circumcise the wood and throw that away or into the fireplace or wherever it is that you're going to go. Don't drill holes in the receiver so you can mount a scope unless you're doing a period correct PPU scope and just like making yourself a replica PPU rifle. Those are pretty cool. Go ahead, if you feel like sticking a rubber butt pad on this thing, there's 2 screws, just take that off. Keep your metal butt plate so you can go ahead and stick that back on down the road if you ever feel like that. You can customize these rifles, and you can customize them quite heavily. You can customize them to fit basically whatever need that you want. But don't permanently deface them. That is the most important rule whenever it comes to the customization of military surplus. I actually have an 8mm Car 98, a 1944 production Car 98. It's a legitimate Car 98, but I keep it in a sporterized stock and not in its original stock, only because I don't want to scratch up, bang up, tear up, ding up the original stock, just because it is in really, 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 really good shape, and I don't want to tear that up. I take the 8mm Mauser out and I take it, shooting. I use it regularly, and wood on an old military surplus rifle is like a scratch magnet. So keep that in mind if you're going to use the original stock on whatever rifle it is that you're using. But I have no problems with that level of customization on my Car 98, just because I can put it back in its original military configuration if I decide to do that down the road. Now, I think I've gotten my point across, and I think it's time to go ahead and run some rounds through these rifles. I'm just going to launch some lead down range just for the fun of it. I have shot this Mosin and that Mosin many, many times on this channel, but I tell you what, it never gets old. Well, it's starting to get old, but that's because the ammunition is raising in price drastically and quickly. There's a Russian ammo ban going on right now, and this ammunition has drastically increased in price due to the massive amount of panic buying. I imagine once people realize the ammunition is not going anywhere for a while, they will slow down their panic buying. Prices will settle, and they'll have time to stock up before the ammunition stops coming in general. There are other countries out there that do, of course, make 54 rimmed, but it's not going to be nearly at the price that I was able to get this Russian ammunition from. And that is what we are shooting. This is Toll ammo or Red Army Standard, basically the same thing. Full metal jackets, I'm not sure what the grain is, 147 if I had to make an assumption, but that is just an assumption. I'm going to go ahead and send a round into our puddle right there, just because it's a good time. Wow, that is a serious... Did you guys see the cavity? It looked like a bubble, but it was the temporary cavity that was made in that water. I can't imagine getting hit with this, because we are 70% that right there, and that would be absolutely nuts. I'm going to hit the dirt I'm over here shooting at water and dirt with ammunition that is no longer going to be available. I'm gonna hit the dirt and we're gonna see what kind of hole that makes in the ground. Wow, that's a pretty sizable hole. If that was organic material, then my God, it would be like 10 feet in every direction. Let's go for the steel downrange, because why the hell not? I think I pulled that one a little bit left and also bit my lip whenever I did that. And we have this spider right here that fell from the tree and he is just hanging out. Come here, buddy. I don't want you to end up dead. Go hang out over there. Okay, I can't remember if I cycled this or not. Let's find out. Yep, we got us a fresh round in the chamber. Let's go back to our steel silhouette. There we go. I got it that time. Yeah, I busted my lip on that last round, and I guess that made me pull right. All right, that one looked a little bit low. Normally this thing, well, normally Mosins in general, especially whenever you're firing at this short of a distance, these are sighted out to 100 yards, but they shoot high anyway. We're only at about 40 right here, so this right here shoots probably about 9 inches high at this particular distance. So I have to aim a little bit lower, and sometimes I aim a little bit too low. However, my Type 53 right here is actually pretty on point whenever it comes to aiming down your sights. And the much better trigger on it definitely makes things quite a deal easier whenever it comes to making shots, especially out to long range. However, the concussive blast on this thing makes it way more uncomfortable to use than my actual 9130. Not only that, but it's a lighter weight rifle, obviously firing the same caliber cartridge, so I put this big rubber butt pad on it. And it also extends the rifle a little bit. Maybe now I won't bite my lip. Let's hit the water. Oh man, that concussive blast though. That is absolutely nuts. Now let's hit the ground next to the ground that we shot before. Oh my God. That is so... We got little bits of grass and dirt and debris and whatnot flying all over the place. Going for the steel again. Now, the first time that I had fired this rifle, I was actually convinced, readjust this, I was actually convinced that the receiver was busted. Like, first time I fired it, I saw the massive fireball, and I was like, my God, did that just come out of the receiver? Do I have a ruptured cartridge? What the hell just happened? And turns out, no, that's just the fireball. Like it makes your teeth rattle in your skull, and I swear, man, I thought that my receiver had detonated in my face. Took me a second to really figure out what was going on there. Oh my goodness. Okay, I have one round left. What do I feel like using it on? Do I feel like hitting the steel again, or the water, or I'm gonna Rambo the water with a Mosin. That was neat. Oh, I have way too much fun in these videos. Well, at 50 cents a round, there goes $5 worth of ammunition. As time goes on, I really do hope that ammunition prices get cheaper for these rifles. Anyway, folks, I wanted to go ahead and bring this up because like I said, I've had people tell me that they get off of military surplus just because they feel like they can't customize it. Go ahead and customize it. By all means, just don't deface it. You can customize it all you want. Just don't do any permanent damage, and I'm sure that you will be fine, especially if somebody is upset that the rifle's not in its original military configuration, which I've had a couple of people scream at me through their keyboards about this rifle right here and how it's not in its original military stock. Yeah, guys, I know. Yeah, I've noticed. Thank you for telling me. But I've had a couple of people just, it's amazing how upset people get over things that aren't even theirs. You know, you buy a mass manufactured piece of equipment and people get so upset whenever you do something with the piece of equipment, the piece of private property that you own. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. You know, it's a historical piece of an important part of, although be it a negative part, an important part of our past. and you don't want to just go disgracing it. Well, this is a Type 53, and it has no significance whatsoever. So whenever I tell people that it's a Chinese Type 53, they normally calm down. But then I remind them that it can always be put back into its original military configuration. There's no permanent damage done to this gun. All I would have to do is take this and put it back in its original stock, and I'd have a original Type 53. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what your thoughts are down below. I'm sure that you're going to do that anyway. People are very good at telling me what it is that they think. Subscribe to the channel for more. I do this stuff all the time. Like the video if you like the video. I kind of like having this puddle of water here because that is a pretty massive splash, and I like the idea of shooting the dirt, and man, it just absolutely makes pieces of debris fly. I'll go ahead and take a picture before I walk in, and I'll put up that photo and compare the two rifles that hit the dirt. I want to see just how holy they are. But what else? Description, bunch of links. Go have fun. I feel like shooting stuff. I wish that ammunition was cheaper, because me coming out here and blasting ammo like I do, or rather like I would like to, it gets expensive. So I have to try and stretch out my ammunition as much as possible. Normally, I'd come out here with one of these and I'd run, you know, 5, 10, 15 rounds through it. But I'd say the 10 rounds through these two rifles is enough for one video, because I am not made of money. I'm on a very, 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 very strict budget whenever it comes to making these videos. And I have other things that require my attention. So I'm doing the best I can, with lack of a better term. Anyway, folks, I am once again rambling on like I always do. You guys go off. Have a fantastic day, and of course, thanks for watching. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.